Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce CMAtics video session 126. So basically in today's video, we will actually try to understand about that filter which we can directly apply on the recipe when we directly pull in the data. Okay. And in this video, we will also understand like how that can be put off by a particular settings. Like earlier in the earlier video, we understood like how we can directly pull in the data. Today we will understand how with a particular setting that cannot be done, and also we will understand how we can directly map the filter. And we can also go through some of the documents which I will share with you. I'll just display over here. Okay, so firstly let me go to Analytics Studio and let me directly jump back to the recipe which we have done yesterday. So I go to my data flow and recipe, and this was the recipe which we did yesterday, right? Now, this recipe, if you see, it's showing as a cloud, which is fine. Okay, this ran successfully as well. Yesterday, that was fine. So if I go to my data monitor, we already did that. So this one ran successfully, right? Now, what we will do is today we will understand how this won't work out if we kind of put off a particular setting. So in this setup, if you go to this analytics, okay, in the Salesforce setup, if you go to analytics and then if you head to settings, so we have this option called allow recipe to use direct data. Okay, so if you read it, it's written direct data for recipes pulls a data snapshot into recipes from Salesforce. So direct data, it pulls directly from Salesforce without running data sync before. And so there's no need to run data sync, which we saw yesterday. Fresh data is pulled for each data preview and recipe done for transformation. So fresh data is always pulled. But if we kind of disallow this right now, okay, and if I save it, fine. So I have actually disabled this option, allow recipe to use direct data. Now, if I go to my recipe and if I refresh this, right, you see, first of all, this has changed and there's one error, unable to retrieve the data set for connection because this campaign object, I haven't set it up in the data sync, right? So in the data sync, I haven't set up this one. So if you come over here, and here, if you see, I haven't set up the campaign object, fine, in the SFDC local. So if I search with campaign, I won't get anything because that has not been set up. Fine. So if you disallow that box, then of course this will not run. Okay, as you can see here. Now what I will do is once again, I will just enable this one, allow recipe to use direct data. And now I will click on save. Okay. So once I click on save, now if I just refresh it once again, now again it's showing me directly that cloud symbol. Now I can save and run the recipe. That's fine. Okay. Now the recipe is going to run without any error. Fine. So we can also check it on the monitor. It takes a bit of time to come up. Okay. But that's fine. Now let's move to the next one, which I wanted to talk about. So here, when I have the campaign, I also have something called as, so if I just open this one, right? Okay, it's not able to preview. Let me just refresh it once again. If I open this one, okay, you see there's something called as add a direct data filter. Okay, add a direct data filter to speed up recipe run. Okay, this type of filter reduces the records pulled into the recipe. So what happens when you pull certain records, if you go for the normal filter node, basically the data already get pulled, and in the data layer, you are actually filtering out certain records. Let's say you have 10,000 records, out of that, so you want 100 records. Okay, so on the data layer, anyhow pulling the 10,000 records. But if you go for a direct filter, and let's say you need 100 records, then directly it can do that filtration for you. Fine. Now, what I will do is maybe very quickly, I will check what are the things I have in campaign. Okay. So select ID from campaign. Maybe I can also go for name, and maybe I don't know type. Yeah, type is there. And what else can be there? Okay, I think I'm done with this one. Let me just run the export. Okay, so for example, I have two types of webinar. If I want to just check the webinar for which I have two records, I have total of 5 records anyhow, which is fine. I need 2 records for the type webinar. Okay, and if I need this one, what I can do is I can go for this direct filter over here, add a direct filter. Now, if you add a direct filter, there will be a lightning bolt symbol if you see it. So in a normal filter, you have a normal filter funnel button, but in a direct filter, you will have this funnel button along with the lightning bolt symbol. So here, now if I go for this one, if I go for this type, okay, and if I select, I think what was that? That was webinar, right? If I just go for webinar, if I click on done, filter for, maybe I can write campaign type, okay? Filter for campaign type. And what I'm going to do is keep editing, apply. And let me just check if that particular recipe is running or not. I think this ran successfully today, but yeah, I can run it one more time. And now what I will see is basically if I see the campaign dataset, you will be able to see 5 records, right? But when this recipe runs, basically you will be able to see 2 records. Okay. So let's see when it starts to run. So yeah, that's the advantage of this direct filter on the recipe, where you can directly ensure that the number of records which you need, like I don't need 5 records, I need the 2 records, that directly gets pulled in. Okay, so that is something which they uh, I mean, yeah, that was something which was mentioned in the first instance, which is fine. Maybe if I just pull in one more time this campaign. So as you can see, it speed up the recipe runs. This type of filter reduces the records pull. So basically, it will not pull 5 records; it will pull the 2 records into the recipe, and the the data run will be much more faster. So that's the advantage of this. And once again, like in if you normally build up in a debug, let's say like you have a normal kind of data sync object which is there, like after the data center you have the object in your lower environment. But if you deploy this to higher environment, and if you don't ensure that allows recipe that settings is enabled, then automatically what happens, like after a no, so for example, let me open one of the recipe first of all where we applied that filter. I think it was free session 2 if I'm not wrong. I really don't remember the sessions, unfortunately. Maybe free session 3. Somewhere I applied that filter, I guess. Let me check very quickly. Okay, it has to be one free session 4 or 5 maximum. Free session 5. Let me check the 5th one. I don't have the 4th one, I think. Yeah. Okay. Let me just write over here. Yeah, free session 6. Let me check it out. Yeah. For example, if I talk about this recipe, we have an account which I know have been pulled by the data sync, and I have applied a filter on industry, right? Now, if I, let's say this is done on a lower environment, if I deploy this to the higher environment, okay, and if I don't, in the higher environment, if I don't enable this connect, okay, so here, of course, it's a free developer, a free analytics org, so that's why this is already established. But when you purchase this particular org, this will not be established. You have to do it as a post deployment steps, okay? So if I don't establish this kind of SFDC local connection on the production org or the higher environment org, then automatically what happens, even if I deploy this one, okay, this will automatically change to this particular symbol that it will directly pull in the data from account. And this particular filter which you have after that, that will also get changed to this lightning bolt symbol. Okay, so that's how it works basically. And that's even now a best practice to always ensure whenever you have a data, you always put a filter right after that ingest node which you have, the data which you have pulled in, so that the filtration can be done at one go, and then the possible transformation can be put into. So that's what it is. And now if I just go back to this one, and if I just take the monitor, so this runs successfully. And now if you come over here, if I refresh this one, so as you can see, there are 2 records right now. Okay, so that's what I wanted to explain to you, like how we can apply the direct data, as this particular thing suggests, to the direct data filter, okay, in the recipe, so that we can speed up the recipe run. And you can watch a few documents as well. So if you search on Google, accessing Salesforce data without relying on data sync in recipe. Okay, I repeat, accessing Salesforce data without relying on data sync in recipe. If you just search that part in Google, there will be 2 documents. You can open this document from Salesforce, okay, which is access Salesforce data without data sync using direct data. Just open this one, and there is one more document which is pull data directly into recipe. This is also from Salesforce. Okay, this is the help.salesforce.com, and here also from help.salesforce.com. This is one article which you can view. So this is on Google, you first of course search with this one, accessing Salesforce data without relying on data sync in recipe, and you open this document from Salesforce, okay, where it has basically written like recipe can now access data in more Salesforce object, not just the connected objects that you see. When using direct data for recipe, the recipe pulls the latest data directly. So whatever records are being implemented, which I showed you yesterday, if you update and create any campaign records, it automatically pulls in that data without ensuring the data sync step. So the data sync which we have on the connect, it kind of like avoids that part. Okay, directly it can now pull in that data. Fine. Direct data is optimized for occasional small data pool, so use it when data sync isn't available. So of course, when the data sync isn't available, you can use it, or when Salesforce object is used as the source for only one recipe. So when you're using that Salesforce object for one recipe, then you can definitely use this one. That's fine. Okay, and this is the whole diagram which they explained, which I already explained you as well. So this is the filter part. Okay, add a direct data input on filters that limits the pull data into the recipe. That is fine. They're talking about the filter. If you add a filter direct data object to data sync later, if you add a filtered direct data object to data sync later, the direct data inputs on filter is converted automatically to standalone filter. Okay, what does that mean is, for example, if you understand this last statement, if you add a filter direct data object to data sync later, okay, the direct data inputs node field is automatically converted to a standalone uh, filter node if you add a direct filter direct data object. So basically, what happens is here, if you have this particular filter, and let's say at one occasion, if I just add that particular campaign over here, and if I put a filter, then automatically this will change to a standalone filter. That is what it's being said over here. That's the thing. And then the pull direct data directly into recipe, direct data for recipes in 70 your recipe access data in Salesforce service that you don't sync. When you use direct data, the latest data is pulled. Okay, which is the fine. Decide whether to use direct or connect. Now, whether you have to go for direct data or you have to go for connected data object, right? Like you want to connect the object and then like you go for the data sync and then you pull in the records. So there's a lot of factors. You cannot just simply go for one decision. The decision will depend on a lot of factors. So data below, how many rows of the objects data are used? Fewer than 2 lakh rows, support filtering to reduce pull rows. Okay, has greater than 2 lakh rows, support filtering to reduce the number of rows sync by separating the sync. Okay, then access frequency, how often is the data pulled? It is low. If it is low, we can go for direct data. One recipe uses this data one time. Multiple recipes. So for example, if campaign is used on multiple recipes, then I may not go for the direct data option. I have to go for the data sync for sure. Okay, or if I'm running the recipe for many times, or if I'm running that recipe for many times in a particular day, then of course I cannot go for direct sync. Incremental support can only change and new records be pulled. None. Most object. So basically that incremental support, okay, that is there for a list of objects which is provided here. You can just open this one. Okay, let me go back as of now. I can check it later. Okay, then rate of change, how often do the object record changes? So if it is of low frequency, like you are not updating the object that much, then you can directly go for it. But if it is high frequency, it's better to go for that data sync. How many rows do you want to see in data preview? Maximum 2 lakh rows. Okay, then you can go for that sync. But if you want to show 10,000 rows, okay, if you want to see that, then you can go for that. For example, here on this particular recipe, if I open this one, I have that option to actually see the data preview sampling. Okay, in the sampling mode, I can actually go for 10,000 rows. So if I want, I can go for 10,000 rows as well over here. Okay, and that's the thing. So if I just click on apply over here, I will get to see many more records, like 10,000. Of course, here I have only 5 records, which is fine. But if there are minimum records, I have that option to go for 10,000 records. I can easily see that. Okay, that is something which is written over here. So this is a very good article where you can actually decide like whether you have to go for directly pull in or you want to go for connected objects. Okay, so for direct data, like you can how many rows do you want to see in data preview? You can see that. And for connected objects, this is the way to go about. So this is all about this one. Fine. That's the thing. And yeah, this is the way. And the rate of change also, I hope you understood, and all the things, incremental support access frequency. You can just read it once for sure, and you can understand like how this is done. So that's the thing. That's all about this. And they are explain how you can disable that option as well. Fine. So yeah, that's the complete thing about this particular video. So yeah, we will very soon meet in our next session. So yeah, thank you all.